Hello, everybody. This is Nick Tiro, Professor of Information Technologies and Computer Science, Lakeland Community College, CAE mentor, and peer reviewer. Alrighty, KU alignment time. Now, if there's one area of the POS application that people really stress out, maybe have a lot of questions, maybe they feel like they're drinking from a fire hose, and that is your KU alignments. If you remember from other videos, I kept saying 4 or 5 classes. That's all you really need. Don't get into the 8 or 9. In this video, it's going to be a little bit longer than the other ones. I'm going to really break it down a little bit. I'm going to provide some backstory, and it should be a smooth trip. So a little bit longer video. Grab yourself something to drink and kind of just listen, learn. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to me. Quick little backstory. Lakeland Community College has 2 POSs. The first one we got back in 2022, and the most recent one was 2024. In 2022, actually before 2022, we were tasked, my colleague and I were tasked to build a cybersecurity concentration. Before then, we did not have a cybersecurity concentration. So we got in our cars and we drove around to community colleges all over the state of Ohio. We were asking questions. We reached out to people. We looked at other people's information, and we saw a general pattern there. One of the patterns was that cybersecurity became an offshoot of their networking option. If you remember, and going back many, many years, networking was extremely popular. That's actually how I got hired at Lakeland. I was doing Novell and Microsoft and all the other networking options, and then kind of networking kind of calmed down a little bit. So a lot of schools were taking their networking option and splitting it off and changing classes and turning it into a cybersecurity option. We also saw organizations that completely scrapped their networking option and completely rewrote or created a cybersecurity option. We took a slightly different approach. We kept our networking option, and our networking option is actually, we have 2 networking options. One is managed by the ITCS department, the one I'm in, and we concern ourselves with the higher layer stuff, the management of the network. What we would often say is the operating systems and networking. We do have a Cisco program that's housed with our engineering technology, and we decided that we saw some significant differences here. What we saw was, in the networking option and the CNET option, the first year out of a 2-year program was fundamentally the same. And we said, we can do the same thing with cybersecurity. We can keep all 3 degrees, basically have that first year as an entry point into 3 different degrees. And at the second year, then they can split off and maybe go to go to Cisco Engineering. We call it CNET, Cisco Engineering, or our networking and operating system curriculum, or the cybersecurity. But the one thing we saw in all of this was there was a consistent pattern in what classes people were offering for their programs. That was in 2021, 2022, we got our first our POS. We decided to use our networking and operating system program of study as our first POS because our cybersecurity program was just getting off the ground. Fast forward 3 years later, we're getting graduates, we're getting students into our official cybersecurity concentration, and we just got designated in spring 2024, our second POS in cybersecurity. So I went through the POS process twice. The first time was as a rookie, and the second time was, I'm in pretty good shape here. And also the second time I had some experience with the CAE mentoring program and the CAE peer review process. So yeah, the KU process, the KU alignment does tend to cause people a little bit of angst, and it really doesn't happen and has to be that way. What I'm gonna make some very general suggestions that should make things a little bit easier. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my screen and show you the finished product. And then we're gonna work backwards from that and start from that square one and see how this finished product came into being. So let's go up to my screen. Here we are at 1E, 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 Remember the basic principle? 4 or 5 courses in your CAE alignment, no ORs, no optional electives. That's going to save you time. In our first POS, we did have an OR there, and we had to adjust accordingly for that, and it was a little tougher. And the second one, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do an OR here. So I'm going to breeze through this real quick because I want to show you the final product, but then show you how we got there. Basically, the narrative, I took that straight out of our catalog. We went through the official schools process of creating the program. We had to go to the state of Ohio to get the new program approved, and we had to create a description. And I guarantee you, your program has a narrative, a description on it. It's in your catalog. It's somewhere on your website. There you go. Now, the KU alignment summary table, etc. We're going to take a look at that in a second, but I don't want to jump to that right away. So here is the alignment. Here's also the associated technical alignment. And here are the courses. And you notice that in each course, we have the course outcomes. And then we have these alignments down here. Okay. I cannot demonstrate this, but once you start building your application, there will be a place here where you can add, and all of this is going to come from your worksheets. But basically, one was what's it covering, etc. And again, here's where people start looking at other people's work on that. I can't do that. Where did all this information come from? We're going to get there. But I followed my basic premise of 5 KU aligned courses, and I worked from there. So this is the ending product. And I know I'm zipping by fairly quickly. You're going to see at the end something that looks like this, right? And this is going to be our guidepost. This eventually is what we're going to use to fill in all that information that we saw inside the application. You're going to see something like this. We're going to build something like this. So this is our target. Now, the analogy I use is, think of it this way. Every, February, March, all the way up into April, we all do our taxes. And if you ever use one of the products, one of the products that you purchase to do your taxes, you notice they do a lot of worksheets. And sometimes those worksheets are pages and pages long, and you might get one value. That's exactly what's going to happen here. We're going to use worksheets to generate basically this, and then from this, fill in that information. So the first place you're going to go, that's not the first place you're going to go. The first place you're going to go, let's bring this back up here, is the Resource Center, right? In the Resource Center, scroll down, you want the CAE-CD KU alignment matrix. That's a Excel spreadsheet. It's a pretty robust Excel spreadsheet, and we'll talk about that in a second. And you want the template for the KU alignment summary table. Right, so there's going to be 2 worksheets you're going to work at. One is the complete alignment, and one is the summary table. Eventually, and we'll talk about this near the end, you're just going to provide the summary. You're not going to provide these worksheets. Again, think about when you're doing your taxes. Oftentimes, if you print out the worksheet, it's like 50, 60 pages long for one value. Seriously, one value. You don't send the worksheets to the government. You send your tax form. So keep that in mind, and I will touch base on that as we go through that. So you want to download these things. Now, here's where people begin to feel like they're drinking from the fire hose. It's going to look something like this. The first one is the overall matrix. And it's everything. Nick, what is going on here with all this stuff? We have all these tabs, and I don't understand. I felt the exact same way. All right, until my mentor stepped in and said, "Well, here, Nick, these are the tabs that you need to work with." Now, what tabs do you need to work with? So, let me go back to here, and let me bring up the documentation about how to do your application. Again, I'm a community college. I could only mentor community colleges. I could only peer review community colleges. And I know most of the community colleges, all the ones I've done so far, the ones that I know that we did for Lakeland was this one right here, where we had technical core electives. So I just say right in here. So for an associate degree, there's basically two paths. In both of those paths, I have to have 3 sets of KUs. We'll see those in a second. That are the cybersecurity foundational. Then we have the technical KUs. There's going to be 5 of those. You don't have to write this down, but you're going to see it as we break it down. And then there's going to be 3 optional KUs. So it's 3, 8, 11. Again, it's a associate degree. Remember, associate degree, technical core options, technical core KUs. We're working from there. So going back to this, whoops, wrong one. Going back to this, I know I have to eventually pick the 3 core, the 3 foundational, the 5 core, and then 3 technical, basically 3 technical electives. Now, as I said before, when we were building our cybersecurity program, we first did our networking as our first POS. We drove around to other campuses and we noticed a consistent pattern with the cybersecurity program of study. Now, you may not follow this pattern. I'm just explaining to you the pattern that we followed. We noticed that it was heavily into either Cisco or some kind of networking, right? Which told me the options that we would probably be looking for. Everybody has to do the foundational. Everybody has to do the core technical. Remember, we're talking associate degree here. But the core, what do you call it? The elective, the optional, I shouldn't call them technical, the optional knowledge units, we looked for, apologize here, let me line this up a little bit better. We looked for things that were associated with the operating system process. And sure enough, there's 3 of them: networking technology, operating system administration, and operating system hardening. Those 3 optional knowledge units worked out perfect for us. And I will say most of the applications I've seen have followed that similar path, not always exactly the same, but a very similar path. So we know we're doing foundational knowledge units. We know we're doing core, and then for the associate degree technical, there are optional knowledge units here. We're ready to go from here. So here's where that's drinking from that fire hose mentality. What about all this stuff way down here? Well, if I start clicking on these, if I say, okay, show me the first foundational, it shows me, here's where I'm gonna have to fill this out. I'm gonna fill this out in a second. If I go back to main and I say, okay, show me one of the optional, the operating system optional, right? It's here. But you'll notice something, that we still have all these tabs. Great worksheet, right? It's very, very valid worksheet, but I take the approach in my endeavors is to make things as simple for me as possible. So what I did was I took this worksheet and I got rid of the stuff I wasn't using, right? Even though this stuff is, if I was to click on any of these links that I didn't use this time, I only use the tabs that I'm going to use. I only kept it. So I took a copy of the worksheet, the Excel spreadsheet. That's going to be the worksheet here. And I've only kept the tabs that I need. So you'll notice that the 3 foundational CDE knowledge units, those are the green ones down here. The core technical, that's these, I guess, kind of burnt orange color, brownish orange down here. And then the optional knowledge units of networking technologies and protocol. There's the networking option and protocol. The operating system administration is this tab, and the operating system hardening is this tab. So something that I do, if you want to do it, I do recommend it. So I'm not looking at different tabs. I'm only looking at the tabs that I'm going to be working with. So now let's start seeing how I filled in the different tabs. So the first one I'm going to go to is the cybersecurity foundations. All right. You will notice that I have my 5 courses. Put your 4 or 5 courses, the KU aligned courses at the top. You will notice that some courses do have information here. Again, I kept it consistent. First of all, I do not need to see your worksheet. How you want to work your worksheet, that is completely fine. But I found out for myself is just to put and it'll make more sense as we progress forward. I put my 5 courses there, not one elective. And I said, okay, where do they line up? So even something, we'll use this one. Describe the fundamental concepts of cybersecurity discipline and use to provide system security. That aligned very well with our introductory course, or ITIS 1007, our Cyber Security Plus course, ITIS 1355, and even we have that content inside our networking course. Now, how do I determine that? Where was I getting all this information? Well, a little pre-planning here. Inside the folder for this KU alignment section, I downloaded all of the official curriculum guides from our website, from the school's website. I know for a fact each and every one of you have official curriculum outlines. It's part of our process. It's part of what we do as community college and universities. You have an official guideline, right, for that particular course. And that's how we keep courses consistent. I could have 3 or 4 different instructors. I could be a primary instructor and I could have adjuncts. I give them the guidelines, say you have to teach this particular material. So that all came from the school. So sure enough, I'll go to my ITIS 1007. So the next step after downloading those Excel spreadsheets, right, and cleaning them up or doing what you want, you go and you get the official course outline for that course. And, sure enough, there will be descriptions, but more important for our process here at Lakeland, we have outcomes at the end of the course. This is what's the students are going to be able to understand. Now notice, and when we think about this, I know all of you have done this, outcomes tend to be somewhat, I don't want to say general, but they're not detailed. It's not like, at the end of this course, the students will be able to master the ping command. At the end of this course, the students will completely understand the if then else condition loop. And that's not what outcomes are. So, wow, look at these outcomes here. Keep that in mind. So again, here are my 5 KU Line courses. The next thing I did was I downloaded or I got the syllabus, the most recent syllabus for that course. So now I have fundamentally a great portion of your KU alignments are going to come from the official course outline and a syllabus or 2, and the occasional discussion with a faculty member. You may look at labs if you're not quite clear on, very specifics. But, I'm not going to say you're not going to look at assignments. You probably will. But those 2 documents, the official course outline and the syllabus, is going to help you a lot. If you need to start drilling down, start looking at labs, start looking at assessments, start looking at assignments, and away you're going to go. So going back, with all this stuff already in mind, the first thing I do is I just start doing a cursory glance. I start going, okay, what do I know for sure based upon the outline and the syllabus? If there's more detail, I'll get that to a bit. And sure enough, I went through all these and I just checked it. Yeah, this particular item is covered in these 3 courses. This particular item is covered in this course. This item here is only covered in this course here. Now, it could be covered in other courses that are not aligned with your KU. Don't put those in there. Keep your KUs down to a manageable level. All right. So let's say I spent a little bit of time. I lined up my KUs accordingly, right? All right. So next I go to the next tab and I do the exact same thing. Now this is fairly interesting, or at least I think it's fairly interesting. This KU is Cybersecurity Principle, CSP. It's one of the foundation ones. And it says, okay, you'll notice what's interesting about this is most of this is covered in not only 2 courses, but most of it is covered in 1 course into our CompTIA Security Plus course. Again, from talking to other community colleges, from driving around, so many of our courses are pretty much the same. So many of us are using CompTIA courses. So many of us are using Cisco courses or some other vendor-based courses. Those tend to be the really big ones, especially the CompTIA. I've seen a lot of the Networking Plus and Security Plus being represented in other courses at other colleges and even at universities. The third foundation is IT systems, and here is where things lined up. Now, I'm kind of zipping through, but in reality, when I was building the KU alignment, my goal was to look at the outline, to look at a syllabus, if necessary, look at some kind of assessment, and then checking them here, right? I didn't put, I know some people on their worksheet, again, I don't need to see your worksheet, may put very specific things. That's up to you, how you want to handle your worksheet. I thought this was a little bit more streamlined for me. So, okay, so let's go back to, okay, so we can we lined up our KUs for these. What about the core technical? I'm going to just pick a couple, and this one is the basic scripting. You will notice in basic scripting, now we're getting into some of these other, for example, we have a programming logic course. Chances are, again, seeing different degrees, different applications. Most technical programs still have some kind of programming element to it. For years, Lakeland has used a programming logic course, and if the student wanted to branch off into other programming languages, Java, Python, JavaScript, they have a firm foundation with the core concepts of programming logic. Some schools don't follow programming logic. They may just jump them and actually teach programming logic directly into a programming course. I'm seeing more and more of that, especially in the people are being taught Python and they're using Python as the programming logic course, but they'll just call it Python. So if you have a programming course, Python programming logic, it blends in very, very nicely here. So I would go through, I basically am going through all these, what's it called? The core technical, that's this burnt orange, right? Then finally, or not finally, so again, I'll just do it fairly quickly here. I'm going through these, I'm mapping things out, I'm checking the outlines, I'm checking the syllabus, I'm looking at assessments, maybe I'm contacting an instructor. It's really not that hard of a process. We kind of, and most colleges do the process, maybe not officially like this, but it tends to be smooth because you've done it or you've done something similar to this. So you notice we're not drinking from that fire hose anymore. We started with these very, very large where we're going ideas, and then we got spreadsheets, and I weeded down the spreadsheets. I only did the KUs for 5 courses, and then I've worked from there. Finally, or not really finally, is the optional knowledge units. We'll do networking technologies and protocols. Again, you'll notice that a lot of this is covered. These 2 courses, ITIS 1355, is our Security Plus course. We use CompTIA's Security Plus content as our foundational course for the people in cybersecurity and in other courses. We have a foundational course. I know a lot of organizations, a lot of colleges have a foundation course. There's a lot of wealth in those foundation courses. Think about all the things that you are accomplishing in that material. And then, or the other one, operating system hardening. You'll notice now we're kind of stretching over here into this Linux class. Backstory. our first POS, we used 2 operating system courses, and they were kind of an or, and we were able to get through, but it was like, boy, that was a little bit rough. And then so when we did the second POS, we strongly encourage students, to take some kind of Linux regardless, but we rewrote our cybersecurity to really just focus on a Linux type platform. Yeah, we do incorporate the Windows family of operating systems and the Macintosh family operating systems, but at a certain point, we like them to really have a little robustness with Linux, and that covered a lot of bases, right? And then finally, what was the last one? Operating system here. Operating system administration, that is really, most of that is coming from the Linux course with a little bit of sidebar from our principles course and other. I said I wasn't going to do this, but one of the areas that I will often get questions, not just in the CAE arena, but actually in professional when I go out, how much math specifically is required for cybersecurity, especially cryptography. And in this particular, for cryptography, it's really covered into the Security Plus knowledge. And if you read all these, they're not talking. What's the background? What is the math in the cryptography? I have a couple videos on that, just to give people some sidebar knowledge, but you'll notice it tends to be very top level stuff, especially at the community college technical level, top level stuff. What is SHA? What is the function of SHA 256? Well, actually, what is the function of hashing? What is general cryptography, public key encryption? What is Diffie-Hellman? They don't have to be able to program Diffie-Hellman. It's kind of, I think it's a very interesting topic. I have some videos on it, but how's it used? What's it used? And a lot of times you see that in a lot of courses. You see this general concept of cryptography in many, many courses because it's how the internet runs. But I didn't mean to divert too much. Sometimes I know I branch off, but you may hear that, or you may be going, we don't teach a cryptography class. We don't either. Most of that Highland cryptography stuff is graduate level stuff. But really look at your course material and you'll be surprised the amount. There's absolutely a lot of cryptography stuff in there. All the hashing, all the public key encryption, private key encryption, the strengths, the weaknesses, when are you using, what is the hash? You're covering that stuff. I know for a fact you are covering that stuff. You may not be drilling down into all the mechanics and the math associated with it, but you are covering that stuff. All right, so we got our syllabuses. We got our course outlines. We've just mapped all of this stuff into this KU. It's a little bit longer of a process. Of all the processes, tend to be one of the longer ones. A lot of hand working and talking with other people and stuff like that. So maybe something you want to start early on. Next step. Remember I said to download 2 documents. The other document you're going to download is this template example of KU alignment summary table. Again, here you're drinking from that fire hose. You're looking at this Excel spreadsheet and you are going, wow, that is a lot. It's a lot because every one of those tabs maps out to every one of these things here. We're not concerned with that. We're concerned with, if you're an associate, you're concerned with maybe these 2, one of these 2. Most of us are over here. Right? But you're not worried about all this stuff. So if I go back to here, this is the base one that I downloaded, saved some time and downloaded before I started the video. And I got rid of the tabs I don't need. So the only tab that I needed was the CAD and Cyber Defense Associate Technical. I've already filled it in. Now, how did I fill it in? Well, now I'm working with 2 spreadsheets. All depends on how you want to work it, but here is my foundational, here is my technical core, here are my optional. I'm going to go back and say, Where is the cybersecurity foundation? What courses map out to that? So I'm going to go to my other spreadsheet. You know what? To kind of save myself a little bit of time here, I'm going to close some things up. And which one? We're CSF here. Well, there's only 3 classes. 1007, 1355, 1205. So I go back to the other spreadsheet and I mark them with an X. 1007, 1355, 1205. And then I do the exact same thing with the next one, CSP. CSP Foundation, that appears to be just ITIS 1007, 1355. 1007, 1355. How about this ISC? Cybersecurity components. Let's go back. Cybersecurity components. That is basically covered in 3 courses, 1007, 1355, 1205. And then I check them off. And I do the exact same thing. I go back to my KU alignment, the big one. I go back in there. I see where the courses line up. And then I mark it here. So you basically went back and forth with your going from one sheet to another. You filled this all out. Here is your summary sheet, right? You now have your summary sheet. I added a little bit of information down here just to kind of make it a little bit clearer for me about what courses and things like that. So let's go back to our application now. Alrighty. So now we're ready to start filling in this information. First of all, the course, ITIS 1007, Principles of Information Technology. Course outcomes. Guess what? If I go back to this sheet here, here's my course outcomes. Yep, course outline. Copy directly from the official course outline into the course outline. All right, that's good. And then, where those KUs align. Well, this particular course has these outlines. Where'd they come from? They came from this sheet right here. So 1007 is going to have all of that, right? So it's going to have CF, CP, IS, and then BSP, etc. If I go back to my application, there's the foundation, and there's the core technical, and then the 1007 did not have any of the optional. When the last time it was offered, okay? I do the exact same thing with every single course. I go to my, the next course is the 1205. I go to the official course outline. I put the official course outcomes. I then map out from the summary sheet. I map out here, and I'm working my way down. So we're almost there. We are almost there. You notice we started from this very nebulous work. We started working on that KU spreadsheet. We got rid of it. Not got rid of it. We filled it out. We are not going to send me that. And then from that KU spreadsheet, we put it into a summary table that we're going to want to see. And then from that summary table, we use the course outlines to put it here. And then we start adding all the KU alignments around here from that summary sheet. And away we go. All right. Let's take a look at some alignments. You know, it depended on your application, but if I was to go to the KU alignment summary sheet, you'll notice the naming convention here. Here is the KU alignment summary table in a Excel spreadsheet form. All right. Don't send me or don't send that entire worksheet. All right. Do not send the entire worksheet. I sent it by accident in my thing. What we really want to see, if I shrink this down, is this table here. Not sure why I thought I got rid. Don't send the Excel spreadsheets. Don't, even if you filled them all out and you mapped them out, the peer reviewers and the extra reviewers do not need to see the Excel spreadsheet. It is a worksheet, right? Send us this. This is what we want to see. Print it out, make it nice, make it look nice, and that's it. So let's close all this up. 5 KU aligned courses, no ORs, no electives. I got the outlines. I got the syllabus. That was from another area. I used the outlines to fill out the course outcomes. I built the KU alignments from the spreadsheet. I then did a summary spreadsheet, and then I printed just that one page of the summary spreadsheet. That's included. And when I do a peer review or I do a mentoring, I'm going to look at that summary spreadsheet, and I'm going to make sure that the summary spreadsheet is reflected in these KU alignments. I wish I can demonstrate this, but it's just basically a pull down, and I go through all of them. I have seen situations where there was too many and it becomes very confusing. And there's sometimes I'm like, I need to see the KU, but keep things to a manageable. Let's wrap some things up here. A little bit longer video than the normal videos in this series because it's the KUs that tend to take a little bit more work, and there's been some, lack of a better word, horror stories about the KU alignments from days gone by. We no longer look at the spreadsheet. We just look at that summary sheet. Couple key points to work from, all right? You're going to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. Get rid of stuff you don't need, all right? Only use the stuff that you're going to use. You notice my recommendation, if you don't need those tabs, get rid of them and only use the tabs that you're going to follow. Look at we have the foundational and the technical, then you have the optional, right? Think what best fits your program, right? You're going to be surprised there. All of this is completely manageable. Talk to your mentor. Let your mentor see maybe, the general course structure. Like I said, I think most people are okay with the KUs. Once you have that, once you have the table sheet, you start filling out this form just fine. So don't let the KU alignments stress you out, right? It's just a lot of pieces, parts that you get together, but you'll notice that I did not have a lot of extra stuff there. I just kind of went with the stuff I knew I needed. So a little bit longer video. I'm going to stop it here. That being said, let's go and learn something.